In a historic move that reflects deepening regional anxieties, Finland has announced plans to withdraw from the 1997 Ottawa Treaty, which bans the use, stockpiling, production, and transfer of anti-personnel landmines. This decision marks a significant departure from Finland's traditional position on arms control and symbolizes the country's growing concern about the long-term threat posed by neighboring Russia. Finland's strategic pivot is not occurring in isolation. It follows a broader trend among NATO's eastern members, including Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, all of whom have either announced or are seriously considering withdrawing from the treaty. These developments collectively reflect a shift in the European security paradigm, one that emphasizes deterrence over disarmament, amid heightened fears of Russian aggression. Prime Minister made the announcement on April 1st, emphasizing that while there is currently no immediate military threat to Finland, the long-term risks posed by Russia necessitate a recalibration of the country's defense posture. He said, "Withdrawing from the Ottawa Convention will give us the possibility to prepare for the changes in the security environment in a more versatile way." This marks a continuation of Finland's broader strategic reorientation following its accession to NATO in 2023. The Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022 was a pivotal moment for Finnish security policy, effectively ending its long-standing military non-alignment and propelling it into the Atlantic Alliance. Finland currently shares NATO's longest land border with Russia, over 1,300 kilometers, and officials believe this geographic reality compels a more robust and layered defense strategy. The ability to deploy anti-personnel landmines along critical sections of the border is now seen as an essential component of that deterrence architecture. President Alexander Stubb echoed this sentiment, writing on social media, "This is a part of Finland's contribution to Europe taking greater responsibility for our own defense." His message reflects a growing consensus among Nordic and Baltic policymakers that Europe must be prepared to stand on its own feet militarily, even as American political will to support Ukraine becomes increasingly uncertain. In parallel with its withdrawal from the Landmine Treaty, Finland has announced an ambitious increase in defense spending. The government has pledged to raise military expenditure from 2.41% of GDP in 2024 to at least 3% by 2029. This increase represents an additional €3 billion in defense funding and places Finland among the top contributors in NATO in terms of defense spending relative to GDP. This financial commitment underscores how seriously Finland takes the threat of a resurgent and unpredictable Russia. The increased budget will be allocated not only to munitions like landmines, but also to cyber capabilities, surveillance infrastructure, and troop readiness, particularly in the Arctic and eastern border regions. Critics of the move point to the humanitarian costs historically associated with landmines, which have maimed or killed tens of thousands of civilians across post-conflict zones around the world. Finland is emphasizing the responsible use of landmines in strictly military contexts and under strict controls. Agriculture and Forestry Minister defended the decision by stating, "Finland will use mines in a responsible way, but it's a deterrent we need." Indeed, military analysts argue that landmines can serve as a cost-effective passive deterrent to potential incursions, especially in difficult terrain such as the forested and marshy areas along Finland's eastern frontier. Notably, Finland had been one of the last European Union countries to sign the Ottawa Treaty, only doing so in 2012 after years of internal debate. Following ratification, it destroyed over 1 million stockpiled landmines. The reversal of this policy, therefore, underscores the depth of strategic reassessment now underway in Helsinki. Finland is not acting alone. Poland and the Baltic states have all indicated plans to follow suit by withdrawing from the Ottawa Convention. These countries also share borders with Russia or Belarus, and have grown increasingly alarmed at what they perceive as the West's wavering resolve in confronting Russian aggression. For these frontline states, the decision to reintroduce landmines is seen not as an escalation but as a necessity. Their leaders argue that the threat from Moscow is existential and that conventional deterrence measures alone may be insufficient. This coordinated movement by multiple NATO countries could significantly alter the military landscape in Eastern Europe. While each country insists that mine deployment will adhere to strict protocols to avoid civilian casualties, the remilitarization of border zones nonetheless represents a step away from the post-Cold War disarmament ethos that shaped European security for the past 3 decades. Not all regional players are on board with this shift. Norway, Finland's neighbor to the west and a fellow NATO member, has voiced strong criticism of Finland's decision. Norwegian Foreign Minister warned that weakening the global consensus on banning landmines could embolden non-state actors and rogue regimes to use them indiscriminately. He said, "If we start weakening our commitment, it makes it easier for warring factions around the world to use these weapons again, because it reduces the stigma." Human rights organizations and anti-landmine activists have also condemned the decision. The International Campaign to Ban Landmines, a Nobel Peace Prize-winning coalition, issued a statement calling Finland's withdrawal deeply disappointing and warned that it could lead to a dangerous erosion of international norms. The decisions by Finland and its neighbors cannot be viewed in isolation. They are part of a much larger recalibration of military strategy across Europe in response to Russia's continued aggression. For example, Norway recently approved a major expansion of its K9 self-propelled howitzer fleet, while also pledging an additional $7.8 billion in aid to Ukraine in 2025 alone. These moves suggest a continent-wide return to hard power as a primary security mechanism. For countries along NATO's eastern flank, the question is no longer whether Russia poses a threat, but how best to contain it. The US factor also looms large. With American political consensus on Ukraine faltering, European leaders increasingly feel they must take the lead in shaping continental defense. Finland's decision to reintroduce landmines is thus not merely a local development. It is emblematic of a broader European awakening to the fragility of peace on the continent. Finland's planned withdrawal from the Ottawa Treaty and its renewed emphasis on border fortification through landmines mark a watershed moment in post-Cold War European security. While controversial, the move is widely supported domestically and reflects a genuine strategic concern about future Russian military behavior. This decision, when placed within the broader context of NATO's eastern rearmament and shifting American priorities, suggests that Europe is entering a new era, one in which deterrence, not disarmament, is once again the cornerstone of regional security. Whether this shift can enhance stability or leads to a more dangerous arms dynamic remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The quiet forests along the Finnish-Russian border are about to become a new front line in Europe's evolving security architecture.